Like many of you here today, I am a proud British Jew. And over many years, too many to count, I dedicated myself to public service as a member of the Labour Party. I never, ever dreamt that my identity as a Jew and my work as a public servant in the Labour Party would lead me to a rally protesting against anti-Semitism in my party, in our politics, and in our communities. But it has. And here we are today, expressing our complete determination to work together to stamp out the vile racism against Jews that has infected our society. With this fantastic turnout today, and congratulations to all of you for weathering the weather, we're standing together, we're shouting to everybody, we're making everybody hear that we mean what we say when we say enough is enough. My family arrived in Britain when I was 4 years old. My parents remained eternally grateful to this country for opening their doors to us. I was brought up and have lived my life as a secular Jew. And were my parents alive today, they would be full of pride that their daughter has become such an accepted figure of the British establishment. And I joined the Labour Party when I was 18, because for me, it was the natural home for Jews, created to fight racism, created to fight intolerance and injustice, dedicated to promoting equality, protecting minorities, and embracing internationalism. It was the Labour Party that introduced legislation to outlaw discrimination, victimisation, and hate crime. Fighting racism for me was part of Labour's DNA. And it's therefore truly shocking that today, under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, the Labour Party has become a hostile environment for Jews. A place where anti-Semitic tropes are all too commonplace, and a party that is riven by this outrageous and unnecessary row on anti-Semitism, and that is failing to provide effective opposition on the issues that matter, from Europe to everything else. This should never, ever, ever be. My Jewish identity may not have defined my politics, but like all of you here today, my heritage is who I am. It's my heritage that makes me determined to fight this new surge in Britain of anti-Semitism. I cannot and will never forget. I won't forget the last letter written by my grandmother to her son, my uncle, 9 days before she was taken from Vienna, shot and buried in a trench outside a concentration camp. In that censored letter, she twice wrote, "Don't completely forget me." I cannot and will never forget walking into the room in Auschwitz and seeing a battered suitcase with my uncle's initials on it. I cannot forget the words of my grandfather in his diary as he described crying when he visited for the last time his parents' grave, knowing he would never see that grave again, as he was forced out of his home and his country. All of my past and my family's past is part of what I am today. So I was taken aback after Corbyn became Labour's leader, when I started to receive just vile, racist, abusive tweets, emails, Facebook messages, and letters. In the 2010 general election, I had fought and resoundingly defeated the fascist Nick Griffin, leader of the BNP in Barking. When I took him on, I expected to receive a lot of anti-Semitic abuse. But the anti-Semitic tropes I've received in the last year or so are greater in number and more horrid in content than what I was subjected to from Nick Griffin and the BNP some 10 years ago. One tweet accused me of making Goebbels proud. Another asked, why has 0.5% of our population got so much power? Rid us of this cancer. A third said, Margaret Hodge is a Zionist pig, and hopefully Hezbollah will catch up with the bitch. And I've only selected a few of the more polite messages. I know that my colleagues, and especially Luciana Berger, Ruth Smith, and Louise Ellman, have received much worse abuse than I have. And I hope we can all today salute their bravery, steadfastness in standing up against these attacks. But Labour's leader, Jeremy Corbyn, has to accept responsibility for what is going on in Labour's name. He may be right to say that anti-Semitism exists elsewhere in our society, but he is wrong to suggest that our mission to eradicate anti-Semitism from the Labour Party is simply an attempt to silence any criticism of the Israeli government. Along Jews in Israel and in Britain, I have criticised actions of the Israeli government in the past and will continue to do so when necessary. But I will never accept anti-Semitism that is dressed up as something else, the defence of Palestinian rights, when it is plain, simple hatred of Jews. And while I welcome the fact that Labour has finally adopted the internationally agreed definition in full, that is only the very first, very small step. The Labour Party has got to stop the disciplinary action against my colleague Ian Austin for calling out anti-Semitism. It's got to start disciplinary action against Peter Wilsman. The party must swiftly deal with the hundreds of allegations of anti-Semitism that have laid untouched for so long. And if Jeremy Corbyn can ever rebuild trust with the Jewish community, he has to start talking, listening, and hearing what they say. He has shunned us all for too long. And he might just say sorry. Not sorry for we who feel the hurt, but sorry for what he has done, said, and not done for many years. There are many of you here today who've given up on the Labour Party, but the party's been in existence for over 100 years. Jeremy has only been leader for 3. I want to stay and fight for the soul of my party. And just as you here in Manchester have defended the Shop Kedem, I will continue to fight for my party that I have served for 5 years. I want to fight to clean up the Labour Party, clean up Britain. I want to stamp out anti-Semitism wherever and whenever it raises its ugly head. My father used to always say to me when I was a child, keep a suitcase by the front door, Margaret, in case you have to leave in a hurry. And I've inherited, as many of you have, that fear that my father felt. But I do want us to feel hope. I do want us to feel hope and confidence by standing together as Jews, working alongside the millions of non-Jews who share our horror and outrage at the modern anti-Semitism. We should say, enough is enough, and we should act to call out and crush anti-Semitism wherever and whenever we find it. Yes, we can, and yes, we must, and yes, we will. Thank you.